Welcome to Simply Carrington. I'm so glad you're here with me this week. I had a couple projects this week that I needed to get done and wanted to start out with a tallow balm for my son, as we are doing swim lessons right now and it seems like his skin is just getting drier and drier. So I started out by warming up some tallow, and then I added shea butter to that. Then I added a few other ingredients like jojoba oil, grapefruit extract, and some calendula oil as well. I did find that this worked pretty well, and I'm really thankful that I was able to get it done because his skin has been doing a little bit better, but I do feel like maybe the calendula oil that I added may have dried out the skin just a little bit more than I would have liked. As I did this project, I kept being kind of astounded by the simplicity of the actual project because I've been putting it off for weeks and it felt kind of unattainable, like I just couldn't possibly get it done. But when push came to shove and I finally did it, it wasn't really a very hard project at all. I had it done in a few hours from start to finish, and that included a lot of cooling time. It was a good reminder to me that not everything has to be a big deal. It can kind of be an easy little project and can be done in a few hours. And that is definitely not how the rest of my week went, but having something to start out with like this was good. It wasn't quite as whipped as I would have liked, but it ended up being that after it set for a while, it did end up being a more whipped consistency, which I did appreciate. My second project of the week was this birthday banner that I've been trying to hype myself up to sew for several weeks. I found the inspiration from someone online, and the person that makes them charges about $80 for a set of just the happy birthday portion of the letters, and then it's an extra charge for any names that you may want to add, and I am determined that I can do this by myself. However, there seemed to be a couple complications along the way, one of which being that I could not find a good pattern for letters that allowed me to turn them inside out, or really any pattern for letters that I loved, so I had to kind of make my own. So here I am working on that. I did start on pen and paper trying to do it by hand and realized that that was going to be a little too difficult, so I ended up going and making a template and then cutting those all out, and this took like a nap time and a half to just cut out all the letters and get ready to start the cutting of fabric and stuff. And I totally forgot that I have special tools that would have told me exactly where a 1/4 inch inseam would have been, but alas, it all turned out just fine. At least this part did. The original inspiration for this project did have raw edges, and as I was discussing this with my friend who is a much better sewist than I am, we were deciding that it probably would look a little bit more finished and perhaps better with the seams on the inside, and so away I went on trying to accomplish that. And at first I forgot to turn the fabric inside out, and again I just started sewing again after maybe 10 years of a break, so there's a lot of things that I'm kind of relearning how to do. And as I cut out these letters, I was starting to remember that there were a lot of different parts of this that I maybe had forgotten over time. Sewing is really a nap time project because all those little scraps and tools and everything tend to be played with or get moved around when my son is awake. So as he woke up, we started some other little household tasks, and I'm really trying to keep him in the mode of helping me in the kitchen, and he seems to really like it. It's been really fun for us. However, as we learn these fun skills together, I do find that his little hands find their way into the bowls that I'm often working in. So we are working on keeping our hands to ourselves when we need to, but I do love that he loves to mix and be with us, and we are learning a lot of things together, which is really fun. I just entered my 3rd trimester of pregnancy, and now that I am getting kind of close to the end, I'm doing a lot of preparation and also reminiscing on my time with my son and my time when I was pregnant with him as well, which is really sweet and a little bit bittersweet as we come to an end of this only child period of his life. But specifically related to pregnancy, I have found that this one has been a lot easier on me than my last one. And maybe it's because I'm having a girl this time, or maybe it's the way that I have nourished my body throughout this pregnancy compared to my pregnancy with my son. But it's definitely going a lot better, and I feel much more able to do things and accomplish things than I ever was in my pregnancy with my son. When it comes to nourishing my body in pregnancy, I did find with my first pregnancy that I really did feel like I was in survival mode pretty much the whole time. I found myself unable to get enough food and would end up the night with a big bowl of ramen, which is so silly that I couldn't come up with anything that would be a little bit better, but that was all that sounded good. And this time I have really tried to prioritize protein and making sure that I am really nourishing my body with foods that are going to help not only me, but also my daughter thrive. I do think the extra intake of protein, especially early in the day, has really helped keep a lot of the sickness and aches and inflammation at bay, and I've just felt so much better overall this entire pregnancy. So if you're pregnant or you are planning to be at some point in the future, remember that protein is going to change your life. I know it doesn't feel like it, and it's so hard to convince yourself that it's a fun thing to eat, but that 30 grams of protein at each meal will just absolutely revolutionize your pregnancy journey. That's definitely not the case for everybody. I have some friends who have terrible nausea, and for them, I'm just like, if you can eat something, that's so much better than not eating at all. If you're looking for a good resource on nutrition and pregnancy, my favorite book of all time, and I tell all of my friends to get it, is by Nichols, and it is called Real Food for Pregnancy. It is just packed with great information and lots of data, and really helped me throughout both pregnancies to at least try to get good nutrients and be nourishing my body in the proper way. I would consider my first pregnancy to have been really good intentions when it came to eating and all things health, and probably bad execution. With this pregnancy, I have had good intentions and would say slightly better execution. Definitely so far from perfect, but definitely a lot better, and it gives me hope that for the next pregnancy I can be even more intentional with how I am treating my body. As I finally moved on from the cutting stage to the sewing stage of my birthday banner, I was so excited to be done with all the cutting and just got right into it. I did find that I struggled with the 1/4 inseam just because it's harder to see the line, and I'm such a novice that definitely added to the complication of it. Hello, Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm the worst about my posture, even as a chiropractor, so just pay no mind to that. I started with the eye because I was like, that's definitely going to be the easiest, and I left one side completely open because I will need to add a little loop to the end of it after stuffing the letter. I continued on throughout all the letters, and this actually took quite a while. I got the majority of it done in one session while my son was asleep and had to finish later the next day while he was awake, which definitely added to the complication of things, but was good nonetheless. I can't exactly tell you when I started to get a little bit of a special queasy feeling in my stomach that I might be doing something wrong, but at some point along the way I started to get a little bit worried that something wasn't going quite right. It just felt like it was getting a little too easy. Unfortunately, there is no video proof of me figuring it out. However, I did come to realize that any letter where I sewed the middle shut, like this B, was no longer able to be turned inside out, or right side out, I guess. So I had pretty much ruined my own project to the point that I either would need to seam rip out all of the middles and then figure out how to close them correctly where they still looked good after I had already turned it to the right way out. And that just was so overwhelming that honestly I put the project away. I haven't touched it since, and it will have to be for another week. So just a little example of having really good intentions with bad execution, and we'll have to come and do that another week. Thank you for your time and for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed watching my little projects, and I will see you next week on Simply Carrington.